Hey, what's shaking, everyone? So we got Craig Robinson's sister here. Oh, I'm sorry, her name is Cyan Wilson. She's an assistant professor at Wilfred Laurier University, and she believes that white supremacists are everywhere. There's a few more nuances to this story, but it kind of helps extrapolate this opinion that I have that, man, these leftists nowadays are just mentally unwell. I think I can make a fairly compelling case for that, but before we dive in, I just wanted to thank everybody for checking out my channel here recently. She's only been up for a month, but the support is a larger and much more productive than I even anticipated. And I can't thank you all enough for tuning in. And hey, if there's something you'd like for me to discuss, or if you have anything to talk about in this video here in particular, feel free to drop that down in the comments section below. And while you're down there, if you don't mind hitting that subscribe button or just dropping a like on the video, that does me quite a bit. More than you guys really understand. But let's just go ahead and dig right into the first story here. So, black community leaders speak out about intimidation, harassment in Waterloo region. Because we all know that Waterloo and Kitchener area of Ontario is specifically wrought with white supremacists. That's a joke if you're unfamiliar with Southern Ontario. Incidents have left leaders worried about their safety. Well, the only thing I'd be worried about their safety around that big bitch is probably Baker's dozen. But I already told you who she is. Cyan Wilson, an assistant professor at Wilfred Laurier University. That same Wilfred Laurier University that held one Lindsey Sheppard to their, I don't know, Marxist tribunal is about the best way you can put it. When she decided she was also an assistant... she was a teacher's assistant. Sorry, I got my facts mixed up there for a second. She showed a video of a debate between Jordan Peterson and some androgynous nothing who was a historian of medicine who claimed that biological sex is not a real thing, and that's been the scientific consensus for decades. Fucking nutcase, but yeah. Peterson rightly put him in his place, and there was brought to this human rights tribunal held at Wilfred Laurier University that said that there was a claim that she was creating an unsafe classroom. But that's a few years ago, all long and dusted, but there was no claim ever made, and they claimed that Peterson was somewhere between Hitler and Milo Yiannopoulos. And you go on the internet for any period of time and you're immediately going to hear anyone write of Marx as, they're going to get compared to Hitler eventually. So, to be completely honest, that is definitely 100% a form of mental illness, and it seems to be running rampant. And before we dig too far into the story here, or even at all really, I know I'm going on a tangent, but this whole embracing of mental illness instead of actually embracing treatment for it on the left is just another symptom that they are, well, instead of a symptom, it's more or less a real concrete evidence that they are more concerned with issues than solving issues. Because just look at any Twitter bio, any Facebook bio. You see, okay, I'm this, some self-deprecating joke, and I have this mental disorder, and my pronouns are this and this. Fucking bonkers people, and they claim that the right likes to not adhere to science. Yeah. Perfect, yeah. Gender's a spectrum, right? Anyways, I'm sure tons of fun here also believes that. A local academic is speaking out after her car was broken into, which she believes may have been an act of intimidation intended to discourage her advocacy work. Cyan Wilson, a professor. But she's an assistant professor. Yeah, well, it's CBC, what do you expect? Propaganda wing. Fucking garbage outlet. At Wilfred Laurier University, she believes, isn't the only one to have been targeted after posting about an experience on social media. That's all these people do. Instead of actually doing real work, they just post on social media. By the way, you can follow myself at twitter.com/DonKhan Swaylo or parlor.com/DonKhan Swaylo. Anyways, Wilson said that other vocal BIPOC, yuck, black, indigenous, people of color leaders. I haven't heard that until recently when I actually did the... What was that one about? The segregated cafes at University of Michigan, Dearborn. BIPOC, it sounds like, I don't know. Sounds like some derivative of smallpox, but based on the picture, there's nothing small about those pox. Leaders have shared similar experiences with her and say the incidents have left them worried about their safety. Oh my. If there was a large enough strand of pearls to clutch, I'm sure she would be. Earlier this month, Wilson said she awoke to find her car had been rummaged through. Personal documents, papers, and mail were left all over the vehicle, though nothing appeared to have been stolen, Wilson said. Well, maybe she's just a messy bitch and can't fucking keep her items in check. Maybe she took a corner a little too fast and her latte as well as a folder full of, I don't know, fucking a lesbian art dance curriculum spilled all over Prius. Wilson is a member of the African, Caribbean, and Black Network of Waterloo Region. A member, probably president. I'm sure that they meet at a local Starbucks because there's got to be, 2, 3 people? It's these people that love to... recently there was a claim. I'll sidetrack a little bit more. Don Lemon, everybody's favorite late night news host over there at CNN, claimed that because Trump's going to be appointing his 3rd Supreme Court justice this Saturday, he's going to be nominating, and then it gets sent to an appointment, and then it gets confirmed, blah, blah, blah. I won't bore you with that. But he says that we're under the rule of minorities because conservatives haven't won the popular vote in quite a long time. And he claims that that's because... Oh, and then as a... I don't know, sort of... He claims it's a bug of the system. That, therefore, the minority gets proper representation in the rest of the government. Just because there's more liberals in... California and New York. Once you get those 2 places out of the way, okay. So you take California and you take New York out of the liberal strongholds. What do you take? Texas? Maybe? Then what's the next most populous, solidly red state? Georgia? Yeah, even still. Even throw in Florida. Florida flip-flops and is a huge swing state. Anybody knows who's paid attention to elections in the past 2 decades. But still, there are more liberals because liberals tend to congregate in large cities. Duh. And that's the default position. Even growing up, you're taught that Republicans are the old crusty people and you don't want to be like them. You want to be cool like the Democrats, which are running a crusty old white man for president. But that's besides the point. I lost track where I'm at. Let's get back to the story. It was just more proof that they believe that minorities are running everything, but they really love their minority little cliques and need for them to be spoken out about. But when that minority doesn't appeal to their anti-white sentiment, I said it, then they don't want to acknowledge it. Anyways, CBC News reached out to several others who shared similar experiences on social media. They declined to comment on record, citing concerns about their personal safety and safety of their families. So instead of putting anything on the record, wanting to get to the bottom of the problems, they'll instead just make these vacuous claims on Twitter and Facebook in order to get sympathy points instead of, if these alleged white supremacists are out there and they're causing them all this terror and problems. Wouldn't you want to get to the bottom of that? Wouldn't you want that to stop so we could all live in a peaceful society? Because heaven forbid one of those neo-Nazi Trump supporters would run around and eventually get to one of your friends and then you knew you could have stopped it. But really, when you read through the rest of this article, which I'll link it in the description below, but man, the only thing I can think of is that these people are paranoid delusionals. Now, I can pull up the textbook definition of paranoia involves intense, anxious, or fearful feelings and thoughts often related to persecution, threat, or conspiracy. Doesn't that sound like, geez, I was going to say leftist, but that sounds like every news anchor. Just think of your favorite or formerly favorite sports team. When, I think I mentioned this before in one of my sports coverage videos, sports ball, yay, that some black NBA players didn't feel safe, so they were wanting to buy Teslas because then they wouldn't get pulled over because only white people drive Teslas. It's fucking ridiculous. Okay, Teslas are dope-looking cars, but it's bigger than that. It's these people who think that there's a mass genocide being led against black people in the Western world. It's not even a US-based thing. This fucking article here, CBC, Kitchener-Waterloo, that's in the Greater Toronto area. As far as I can remember, Canada doesn't have too much of a slavery problem. In fact, they don't really have much of a slave history. It was more or less kind of a, well, to use one of the leftist terms, kind of a sanctuary city or a sanctuary place for freed slaves. And yeah, they just figured that they can get in on some of this national level division without having to do any of the work. Just one other example I'll bring up in the fact that a lot of these people who advocate for these tiny little groups or sit on these boards for microscopic individuals. Not to say that they're any more or less important. It's just to say that their claims are disproportionate for what has allegedly happened to them. Like, you always hear, okay, oh, Trump's Hitler. I know. Obviously, right? Anyways, yeah. What's the latest claim? He released his second term presumptive task list, sort of his directions for his second term. And one of the things that the left, really latched onto was he wants to teach American exceptionalism in school. Now, for those who are uninitiated, that would mean reinstilling American values, reinstilling American history, and not critical race theory, not the gender spectrum, the fucking genderbread man, the gender unicorn, all of this, frankly, anti-science propaganda. And of course, because, oh, Hitler had the Hitler Youth, therefore Trump Hitler, lol lol lol. Well, it's clearly paranoia, it's clearly delusional, because anybody with a slight grasp of history knows that American history is rich with both successes and failures, and to not look back at history and understand that there is something there to be learned is idiotic and dangerous. And that's what these people are. And I'll end it on that, because that picture's making me physically ill right now. So anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in on this one. It's just a fun little detour off of the riots and violence lately, and sometimes it's just fun to dunk on retards. Not actual retards, like people who see men in sheets everywhere. Not the fun kind. No. Anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in. I've been Khan Swaylo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.